I was going to ask, how have you guys been eating?
No, we've been good. We had some we haven't actually been that bad. I mean, I had a margarita at dinner, but nothing crazy. Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
Are we prepped for the Starfarer reveal thing?
We are prepped for the website. We just have to publish it, but let me go talk to Michael Moreland about getting it on the stream also. I will be right back.
No, I just want to make sure we're prepped for it.
Yeah, website's ready, and we will see about adding the images to the stream.
The reason why I think the Starfarer is cool is because, well, the Caterpillar and the Starfarer are pretty cool because no one's seen any of them, and they're actually kind of cool designs. The M50 is pretty cool as well, but it's sort of like you'll be less surprised by the design.
Because there was a similarity to the.
Yeah, you saw like maybe part of it.
Not yet.
You've heard of it, sketchy.
Plus, logically, when you think of that small ship, it's probably got a cockpit.
I'm just going to save this for me back.
Yeah, no, and also some of the other designing the 300. Some of the options.
You having plans for that?
That's true. Those concept pictures in the early development did come up.
Right.
Not a clue about the Starfarer Beyond. I think that the Miss
A few people
design philosophy that we saw from the Freelancer really well received.
Sure. Class.
Thanks a lot.
You bet.
Quite nice.
That time where it's
I think this gentleman upstairs glasses, as a matter of fact.
Would you like a little taste of
Wow.
Don't tempt me.
No?
I have to drive. I have to go.
No.
I have to fly, but
It's
much
early,
later.
I would. Second. Enjoy it for me.
I will do my best.
That means it has to be a double.
So so upstairs, what is it, Dave?
David Preska is upstairs. He's got the.
Thing-
He's
things-
moving around the Bengal right now. It looks like
I thought he was building a hangar or something.
he was
we were
earlier,
upstairs
yeah.
while
But
they
now
used-
he's,
Yeah,
on the
he was showing off.
Yeah, he was just saying how much he was looking forward to getting a few moments to himself to get some work done. And what's going up there to see what's happening.
Did you level back up?
Okay.
Aria, I think it is the name for some future project.
Hmm?
Oh, I guess I'm just murdering myself. I was talking a lot about the Miss.
Have you gotten any new stuff last time?
no, I haven't.
So I just said
I mean, it was some of the Aurora stuff. Yeah, I want to get the Clipper cargo capacity, and I'd like to get the 350R, but I'll probably just stick with the R. Yeah. Shall we toast to the street?
Serious.
What about you?
The unique under the 350R.
Probably got something like 8, 9, somewhere in there. I mean, I got the first packages, but I guess
Cheers.
couple pictures.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
I haven't sprung for any extras yet.
All right, but give me a little bit since it's bad luck. It's bad luck for everyone.
There we go. Oh, and I even have a toast for us. You ready for this? To all my friends, I wish you well, and to all the rest, they can go straight to hell.
Nice.
It's actually not bad, actually.
No, it's an island. It's an Irish. It's nice.
It's Irish, it says Scotland. It says Isle of Islay, Scotland.
Yeah, I thought Scotch was basically just blended whiskey that comes from Scotland. It's where they
Fancy stuff. I can't let this stand. I gotta bring out my own.
Not always blended. I mean, like a single malt.
Yeah.
Right. So,
This is a
Very-
single
very-
malt. It is. It says Islay, and I read Irish. Islay, which is not Irish.
so yeah.
It's just
you won't call Scotch.
Okay, we are getting set up to show those, so everybody pledge some more money right now.
It'll be a while. I think we slowed down. We like basically broke in one bank with the Idris Corvette.
There's people staggering around their homes right now.
I mean, the Idris is pretty cool, but the Retaliator is going to be pretty awesome also, guys. If you don't have a Retaliator yet,
Set?
I had to get a Retaliator.
You had to get a Retaliator.
So I have turrets.
I think one of the things I think is really cool about the Retaliator is just removing the bomb. And suddenly you have a lot of potential. You have a lot of cargo, and now you have a ship with 6 people on it.
No, mine's
A little bit of pew pew, and you've got a pretty interesting docking ship theoretically.
So it's described as like a planetary bomber. Is that going to be a feature of the game?
strategic bombing runs.
No, not really. I mean, we're not at that level there. No, I mean, it definitely is. It's a crack. It's got a huge amount of.
I was whiskey from Park City, Utah.
Deliver, a serious payload.
Or whiskey rye.
Big, like B-29s.
Nice little mix.
So,
Vivian killed my campfire.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it depends what you want to do. You could probably adapt it and haul some cargo on it. And be just
all right, combat one.
combat wise, well, I mean, combat wise, I think you would probably be using it, against, a capture mostly. I mean, it's not really. You don't want to take a Retaliator and go up against the Hornet. I mean, you may want to be going through enemy space and like the Retaliator. It's got no firepower to basically.
it's not washed out.
Yeah. Oh, that was like a
Do you feel that a
like
Retaliator?
Wingman's Hangar 2 or 3. That big giant box.
Not the docking module, but basically the same thing the Cutlass comes with.
You mean like in terms of boarding?
Yeah, like a boarding mechanism to take advantage of that crew of 6 to act as a sort of it's basically I'm thinking the same lines. It has a Caterpillar, but as a pirate fleet heavy support gunship that can also haul off a nice little bit of reward.
That is very nice.
It is. It's fantastic.
I don't spend nearly as much money on scotch.
You guys talked about the Retaliator?
Yeah, well,
We are.
there's some discussion here about the possibility of Retaliator to be a heavily armored boarding ship.
My inquiry was if a docking collar would be appropriate to the vessel if you were to remove the bomb bays, and now it is acting as the center point of a pirating group. Basically, a rather heavily armored, many-turreted, and then with 6 people on board, answer to maybe somebody who didn't want to get a Caterpillar or wanted to have a somewhat modular vessel. Because honestly, I heard on a
The
transport,
concept behind the Retaliator was, it's the B-17 in space.
which is
And
great.
at the end of World War II, the U.S. Army Air Force had these thousands and thousands of B-17s that they sold off to civilians. They stripped off the guns, and civilians bought them for as transport aircraft, as passenger aircraft, firefighters, and they would convert them into all sorts of different roles because they were cheap. So that's what we were thinking about with the Retaliator, and so that's exactly what people should be doing, taking it and turning it towards all the Star Citizens' different possible roles.
I mean, that's what the conversation, at least on the chat room forum's always been. It's like 6 people, 30 cargo, lots of guns, implied heavy armor. Ooh, what can we do with this?
Yep, that's the idea. It's for you guys to figure out.
You knocked it out? Because we're talking about it.
So I'm just trying to think of the design because we already have concept on it, so it's not necessarily set up in a particularly convenient way for an easy board like the Caterpillar is.
Right, if everyone's already in their little blisters and they're kind of confined to their blister until later,
The Caterpillar sort of feels like a
Right.
Well, think of it as a navy, like a sort of whatever. What's the marine? There's a marine ship that's basically an assault ship.
Oh,
A new one that they just built?
like an amphibious landing craft sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean not so much the actual amphibious landing craft, but the ship that has all the amphibious
And it
landing
drops
craft.
them all out of the back. I forget the name.
It's the Caterpillars are sort of, not.
And it holds a
as
Marine
big,
Expeditionary Unit. and it's
Yeah,
up-
yeah, exactly, yeah,
so
and
I
they drive
can't
tanks
remember the name
So-
of it.
Right. Just because the
Littoral
Gladiator is
combat?
a
What's
crew
that?
too.
Littoral ships?
I don't think because I thought the Littoral was maybe
It's
it was
coastal.
That is the new one that they have now that's so funnily shaped.
Yeah.
That was, but it doesn't launch.
Yeah, I don't think it has any.
No, it just
I have a-
stations
I have a
Marines
brochure.
to.
It just is in and of itself.
Doesn't launch a bunch of.
Okay, so on the note of the Retaliator, there's a guy in the chat that every 10 seconds that he can talk has been asking this question, so he deserves an answer, I think, is
Okay.
Retaliator bomber, anti-capital ship, nukes. Yes or no?
Well, no, you'll definitely have anti-capital ship and nuclear as a payload on a big torpedo.
Done.
Awesome.
The Knight Rider says yes, thank you.
The guys in chat want to know if an M50 can intercept those missiles and blow them up before they hit.
I think they do now.
Would something like a large payload missile theoretically be of the sort of target you could hunt down before it hits your eyes or whatnot?
No, yeah. I mean, you'd have to be a quick ship, but yeah, I mean, it's that whole kind of skipper missile thing from Wingspan.
Would have a collision box.
One of the best design missions in Wing 3 did that.
That was like a huge gameplay mechanic. Just Starlancer too, as I remember. We spent a lot of time chasing that missile.
Look up why is the torpedo runs working because the fighters better shoot one torpedo at a time. Starlight whole torpedoes at once.
Right, depending
Right,
on.
the little,
I think it
like
sort of
the armored
depends on
transport.
what your configuration is. I mean, I don't think you're like launching like 10 torpedoes. So I think like
Oh, wow.
the torpedoes we're thinking of are like pretty major payloads.
It's like
So
a mini
1, 2 at the most.
carrier.
So would it be like from a Gladiator?
Not 10 torpedoes at a time. I still remember that mission in Starlancer.
It'd be just 1, and maybe not even the biggest kind. Whereas a Retaliator could like
Harriers.
deliver like
Yeah.
ones that would be say nuclear payloads.
I hated that mission.
Oh god. I kept on shooting down my torpedoes and I'd get court-martialed for that. I was just like, come on.
It's to be a
I did not.
Fight.
I did not.
Just
Yeah.
Wing 3 and 4 of it.
I don't really have a great answer for
12 sea knights.
for that.
Oh, wait,
I would
or,
say that
no.
you would
or
prefer to have
4
like
sea signs. I don't know what
one
the hell.
good hit. Try to do multiple passes, but it all depends. You know, you hit in the right place, you don't do enough of the damage. So.
Wasn't it?
No, I'm
But
planning
even
on
if
picking
you
up
got big enough shielding,
Yes.
you could potentially
Gladiator,
stand on you too.
like as not,
Depends on the
but
ship you're going up against.
to make it happen, a Cutlass and Aurora might have to just.
We got a couple possibilities. A Wasp class.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking of, yeah. Big ass bat.
Carriers.
That. Then
Yeah.
there is
Austin, San Antonio.
That was what we
No, it's
thought
the
of.
Wasp cast. Which one's that one you're looking at? That's the Littoral, right?
yeah,
That's
this is
the
a
Littoral,
littoral,
yeah.
but it does have a boat.
Just one or two.
No, I was thinking about the one that has the front deployment, which
Yeah, that's the
I
Wasp.
think there's one that the front opens up and they can, like the amphibious landing craft go out the front.
Yeah, it basically looks like a little.
How nice is the GPU in the new MacBook Pro? It's pretty good. Yeah.
This is a refurbished one, so it's not that bad.
No, it's, you guys are asking if we're going to have it running on a MacBook Pro, and it's like,
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
you want it running on your
Just
MacBook
using
Air?
Basecamp, but yeah, but I'm having pedals and joystick and all, so no, I'm gonna get the Pro.
Get a desktop.
That's the one, by the way,
desktop,
Altman. That's the
no labs,
Altman.
right?
The one right there is the one I was suggesting for you, which is the Bolt.
The one on the left there,
Get it with a 780 and GTX 780, and it'll be plenty
the
powerful.
configuration that you sent.
Yeah,
It's not,
All right, so here's
pretty.
yeah. But it's a small one. Significantly.
will there be a central hub station like the Citadel in Mass Effect?
You mean as a space station, or just like a central hub as a design, like the way Mass Effect you land and then you like take elevators or stuff to different places?
They didn't specify. I think what they're saying is like a giant space station that is larger than all others and serves as a hub for.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a couple of sort of like major space stations that have a lot of
Arc's
space.
pretty.
But really, the central hubs are going to be Terra and Earth. And you have multiple landing locations on each one of them.
So if we're gonna
Babylon
take the
5.
full of Rome thing.
What's that?
Well, I heard like UE is basically Roman Empire in space, and you're gonna have like a
Yep.
sort of long-term story. Is Terra gonna become like Constantinople and
Terra is absolutely
That is
constant.
it.
Yes.
the
Beyond the
usurper
become.
Rome?
Yeah, it's you know it's essentially it's the economic powerhouse of the empire, and it's much more concerned about basically sort of diplomacy and trading, and less concerned about sort of
Then there's this.
militaristic expansion, which is what Earth traditionally had in the past anyway used to build up the empire.
meddling
they're
Earthlings.
often at loggerheads because the Terror sort of feels like it's basically the economic engine of the Empire, but it doesn't really get to control the narrative of its destiny. So that's part of what the idea of the friction is. That they're eventually, they're angling to basically separate.
Okay, Chris, I got one question for you. So, we've been told that there are a certain amount of playable ships, but how many alien or NPC ships are you going to make? To have a believable universe, you should have at least a few ships per species with variation, so how are you going to achieve that with the incredible detail you've already put in the playable ships?
We're just going to put the same detail in the alien ship. So we're going to have there's definitely going to be a Vanduul carrier. There's probably in a couple of capital ships, several different kinds of fighters. The Vanduul will probably have the most of all the alien races because they're in Squadron 42 and they're the ones that is most common. Then we'll have Ch1 and Banu ships.
Do you feel that Squadron 42 is going to feature a number of human ships that aren't necessarily ready to be human playable? Like the cockpits aren't fully fleshed out and the interiors aren't there, but they're there for flavor. Like the Gemini Starfarer is one that comes to mind as a model the military uses, but isn't one of the 14 that's been promised for player use.
No, we're gonna all the stuff in Squadron 42 will be fully built. Like we don't have anything. There will be nothing that will be in the game that isn't fully built out to the detail that you say, for instance, see in the ships that we've shown today.
Okay, there we go.
Because even if it's like a Vanduul ship you're going to board, you've got to have enough detail because you get on board it, you're going to fight your way up to the bridge or whatever.
Right, you can't have a under construction sign and then a cutscene and
totally.
this credits roll.
And also, if you're zipping around, like taking some chase camera views to see the beauty of the object, and you have a new Vanduul bomber or something, and you've got to see the inside of the cockpit and Vanduul flying it.
That's something that popped in my head. I didn't want to interrupt the interview earlier, but you're discussing your system architecture and how even if there's 10 people running around inside of a ship, you don't have to process. I won't have to process those 10 people while flying around in my Hornet. But if somebody's sitting in the turret of like the Idris or Constellation, are you just gonna have like a sort of dummy mannequin and the seat as a sort of indicator that there's a player there? Or
we're still about 30,000.
Yeah, because there's basically it's not really having a physical simulation.
Right, but there's
so I'm not talking about the actual rendering the rendering itself. The rendering you would see character, you're just not really like physically simulating the world simulation inside that ship.
Okay.
That's all happening on that side. You basically, from your perspective, you're seeing the results of it on space, where the turret's pointing or whatever. So.
And you might see some sort of like a figurine of a person, or even a moving one.
You'll definitely see the person. If it's a glass thing, you'll see the person. It's just that you won't. Your machine and the server won't be bothering to be doing the physical simulation.
Perfect.
So.
So in about 5 minutes, we've got the next roundtable video on the design team.
Okay.
So here's a question I'd like: is the Starfarer, can you use it as a weapon by filling it with gas, attaching to cargo tanks, and launching them at an enemy ship?
The antimatter bomb.
What, launching the cargo tanks at the ship?
Exactly.
How are you going to propel the cargo
You
tanks?
fly at them, release them, and then pull away. Is I think what they're thinking.
Oh, inertial bombs.
How are you going to ignite them?
Collision.
Impact? I don't know if they thought that far.
Well, I'm just asking how.
Prayer.
Swerve back around, shoot lasers.
But how okay, but
Yeah, there you go. I like
What's
that
that?
idea. Yeah, shoot lasers after him. Okay. I'm on board with that. It seems feasible.
I've seen a lot of movies during the 70s. Gas tanks go up pretty easy.
Yeah,
Especially
I guess it sort of depends on.
Big red exploding tanks on every ship.
Yeah. I guess that's all. Yeah, I mean, you just have to ignite it, but I mean, there's no reason why, if you could ignite it and it all work, it wouldn't create explosion and damage because everything's sort of modeled that way. So if something blows up, it.
And what kind of gas is going to be in there? Anyways, you'll feel like a bit of an idiot if you throw a cargo hold full of hydrogen at somebody. It's like, it burns, right? It comes out of my engine.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's somebody else. This might be a good Dave question that wants to know the difference between the different engine types, fusion versus antimatter versus chemical. You ever hear that from
Ben?
That's a, yeah.
Ben question?
Yeah, different types of engines. Antimatter versus fusion. We've had some debate on this. So.
And of course, the thing they want to know is which is better.
Antimatter's best, I believe. We were thinking it would be a sliding scale starting from chemicals being kind of the stinkiest, littlest engine, ranging all the way up to antimatter.
I think it's chemical, fission, fusion, antimatter.
That's right, yeah. And size matters too, so it's only the larger ships, I think, that are going to use antimatter engines. But that's basically it, yeah.
I think everything about a freelancer has antimatter, if I recall correctly.
What if you're running low on one fuel? Can you adapt or change to another?
I don't think so.
Just gotta call for a tow.
Yeah. Can't put gasoline in your antimatter engine. That would be a bad idea.
I don't think Priuses exist in the future.
Don't tell Jason Spangler.
Two different types of engines.
24th.
Well, now that's just crazy. No, maybe. Use an extra slot for it.
Crazy is fun, I'll admit.
The bomb you were talking about.
Yeah,
maybe.
No,
No, I'm not talking about that.
I don't think you spend that extra part on fuel, though, as opposed to just another engine.
Yeah, it seems like you get a fuel tank rather than an extra engine.
Yeah.
It's an old one. Right.
Look, I don't think anyone's ever looked at a car and been like, I think the solution to improving this car is to add another engine in the back seat.
Tab's been open for a while.
It's like a reserve tank, reserve fuel.
A reserve
engine.
Redstone engine.
So this one is, I think the answer is yes to this, but it's the, can I keep my military uniforms, rank, and crew, I don't know about the crew, after finishing Squadron 42?
No, you can't keep the crew. You can. I don't know about your uniform, but definitely not the crew. Just get out of there.
Yeah, you like they become your slaves or something? Because you go to the persistent universe. That doesn't really make sense.
Yeah,
Good work, 4 people.
Complete unit.
We took liberties with the military aspect there.
You put a request.
I'm with.
Hey, I got no. Oh no, suddenly the mouse decided to come back. Okay, all right. So let's go to.
I think when I was new.
Yeah, ready for a design video? Okay, let's do it.
It's my
Hi everybody, I am here with some of our designers for CIG who tell me that they are the keepers of documents, the holders of blueprints. We have Nate Blaisdell, Pete Mackey, Rob Irving, and
Blake Yates.
Yay.
New guy.
So tell us what this means, a keeper of documents. Come on, Rob, spill the beans.
Everything we are thinking about, well, Chris is thinking about, everything in his head has to be somewhere that new people can find it, that artists can find it, that programmers can find it. So we spell it all out on paper, well, in this case in Confluence. Everything's documented. Every system, every piece of equipment, everything has to be written down.
This is a massive open world.
That's my first day, I swear I panicked. I looked at him like, there's no way we can't do this. I can't keep up.
So in Confluence, how does this work? You talk to Chris, you guys have your stand-ups. Tell us how the process works.
We do have meetings now. We were freeform, right? I mean, guys, we've been working fine without a lot of meetings. Nate, do you like meetings? Really?
Sometimes.
Short ones.
But yeah, we try not to meet too much, but it's constant interaction with one another. So all the departments work together. One of us is always moving around between desks.
And how do you get ideas out of Chris's head?
Sometimes we sit down and ask him. Sometimes it's throw something out there and say, hey, Chris, what do you think? And then he'll tell us.
A lot of times there's a question that comes up that we're all like, I don't think we have an answer to that. Maybe Chris does, and if he doesn't, then it's up to us to kind of shoot ideas around and get everybody in agreement.
So say, for example, with the new ship, the Avenger, does that start with you guys?
It did. That was a spur-of-the-moment 5-minute discussion where we were all just sitting around. It's like, why don't we make up a new ship while we're sitting here? And so the Avenger was born.
10 minutes.
Yeah, it took 10 minutes, and then we had the stats page from Ben, and it was all done. Yeah. It's like, look, new ship.
So with the Hangar app, then, what do you guys do on the design side?
It's like, well, we need to design ship parts. We need to figure out how many ships fit in a hangar, what the different styles of hangars are. We have a wiki page for that, which is here's the discount hangar, here's the nicer hangar.
How do you interface with the parts that you have and get them on your ship and stuff like that? So the user interaction experience is something that we go through.
In fact, I'm working on that right now.
So you have ideas, you bring them to programmers and the artists, and then they say, okay, well, this isn't possible, or we can't do that. Or do they always say that?
They always say that. They're not allowed to say that.
Well, my experience has been that sometimes they will get an exasperated look on their face and say that might not be possible, and then 20 minutes later they come back and say, I figured out how we can do that. So a lot of times, the initial shock of like, you want what? Is kind of overwhelming, but everybody wants to make something awesome, so they usually take it and chew on it for a minute and then figure out how to make it work.
It also helps to have some alternatives in your back pocket and to present to them.
It's a negotiation a lot of times. It's like, well, we want to go this far. How far can the programming team go? How far can the art team go? How much can we really do? But we try to push for the more instead of the less.
And a lot of this is inspired by the fact that you're all gamers. You
Geeks.
get the geeks.
Would you consider yourself a geek?
No.
None of you are geeks. Come on, please.
We
look at this. I what does this say? I had friends on that Death Star. That's not a geek.
Zombie bait.
Zombie
We've
bait.
got the creative shirt side, and then we've got the kind of just.
I was dead sad, all right. So.
No, I've just been a fan of that kind of stuff, really, just like a lot of people, I think, from the first time I saw Star Wars, really is kind of where it started for me, but then, playing like Wing Commander games in the late 80s and 90s, that was, that set the tone, and then it's kind of just something I thought about for a long time, so something I wanted to do.
Should I admit that what my earliest memory is?
Sure.
Yes.
Well,
you have to now.
now you have to cough it up. Let's go, man.
My earliest memory is being in a theater when I must have been about 1 year old, and seeing the whole Star Wars scene where Chewbacca is playing the little game on the Millennium Falcon, and then the jump to Lightspeed. Those are my earliest memories.
So how much work have you got laid out right now? Where are we at?
We are running like half a step ahead of what production needs, basically. It's like, we need to know how this works. Well, we'll start on that right now. But yeah, it's going to be constant pressure all the way through to keep things designed.
It's pretty much endless, an open world. So you can start with the smaller focus and just have a general, broad idea of where you're kind of going.
Absolutely. A lot of times it's just one of them wandering up to my desk and going, hey, when I'm not working on what I'm working on right now, can I design this system or that system? Like Nate, you did bounty hunting.
So is Confluence just a fancy word for like Google Docs?
It is. It's a wiki. It's a giant Wikipedia, basically, of Star Citizen. I mean, I'm sure the fans would love to get their hands on those documents. No.
Keeper the keys.
That's right.
Keeper the keys for the blueprints.
We may have some version of it for them when we release the modding tools and stuff like that. It'll
Sure,
probably
absolutely.
Be some edited version of it so we can see the nuts and bolts.
And we have Magic Dave to put all the little teasers out there of the things we want to talk about, because he can write fiction around any system we're working on. Magic Dave! The writer man.
Besides you guys, we also have Dan Tracy. And
Dave Haddock is sort of an honorary designer. He's on Skype with us all the time. I mean, everything he does comes past my desk. He has some really
good ideas.
He does, and he helps us to get bits of what we're doing out to the audience, even when we're not ready to reveal the whole system.
Great at keeping us consistent. Otherwise, like, threads would just start running like wild horses out, and he kind of reins them in and makes sure everything like fits together. So he does a really good job.
And do we need a lot more of you then?
We do. When we start really building stuff, we're going to need an army of designers. So we're ramping up slowly because we have to get all the tools in place before we can actually build all this stuff. I know that we got some of these guys learning the engine already, so we'll be ready. We got a lot of missions to make and a whole lot of star systems to build, and we're going to be busy.
All right. Thank you to all our designers, the keepers of the blueprints. And later on tonight, we're going to look at our artists.
Hold on, I have to check. I'll give you a couple. You gotta get them email.
More foreplay, basically.
Right.
don't know what we're going to be live against. I don't know what I should be.
Now, we are back with the design chat. And these are the sole survivors.